Welcome back to Coffee and Conversation with Performers Hub. And we have interviewed a few up-and-coming young performers.
Yep.
And we've done some chats. But today I'd like to interview my wonderful husband, who you
really?
may know as the inimitable Philip Gould. Now, Philip has had a phenomenal career as a performer. Not of late, because lately he's moved into new directions the last couple of years.
Talking to you lot now there.
But prior to that, Philip has performed on the West End, done principal roles in #1 productions, both in Australia and in the UK and around the world. And I know him as just a master performer. He's a triple threat. He sings, he dances, he acts, and he is professional to the nth degree.
Oh, get out.
Absolutely, he is. He is. Now, some of that he's had to learn from me. No, I'm joking.
Well, I did actually. Yeah,
Well,
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I did. Especially on the acting side, I think you helped me immensely. Anyway, patting
that's
each other's backs
yeah.
here.
No, but why I wanted to talk to you was to ask you, because there's been a lot, and we're going to talk more about this, there's been a lot of hooey lately, because in Australia, the government, and it might be around the world, it seems it might be around the world.
It's pretty prevalent here.
Yeah, but particularly here in Australia, governments are trying to diminish arts education in favour of science, maths and whatever. Now, quite apart from the fact that that's trying to bake a cake with half the ingredients, it's completely imbalanced. It's negating half of a population and trying to force people to be what they're not, which we don't agree with. But that's by the by. What we want to start presenting is an offering of how the arts can be extremely beneficial to every area of someone's life. And participation in the arts is an amazing training.
Exactly.
So we thought we'd start with you. Well, I thought we'd start with you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Because Philip's journey was not academic.
Not at all.
No.
And also didn't follow the path of going to university or special college, music theatre colleges or anything like that, because they didn't have any then.
But also because you were working, I mean, you were privileged and fortunate enough and talented enough to be working from a very young age.
Yeah, well, I started work at the age of 7. I went to a dance school called Olive Wallace. She was a gorgeous lady. She was 72 then, when I was learning tap from her. Took me a year to get up, though. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's determination.
Yeah, from my mother. She kept taking me every week, and I'd say, no.
Got to tell you, I would not have that staying power. Go, Jane.
Oh, yeah. Bless her heart. But she took me for a whole year until finally one day I decided to get up. Everyone went, they were shocked when I finally got up. That was after a year. Yeah. And anyway, I got on to tap. I did a lot of tap. That's what she was famous for. So I did that, and I also did some singing there as well. And I used to go to singing lessons at the age of 7. I don't know why, but just did. And all of that gave me sort of an inner confidence, you know, to be able to... Because we used to do concerts as well. Olive Wallace was absolutely famous for her concerts at the Town Hall in Melbourne. People who knew nothing about dance or, you know, had no one in the actual dance school would come along and watch her concerts just because they were so good. Wow. And they were funny as well. She always had the littlies on, and they'd always bring the house down, you know. Yeah, so that's where I started, and then eventually got into things like Noddy Goes to the Moon. That was my first attempt on stage. I was a moon goblin. Oh, you should have seen it. Lame hat like this with little antennas coming out and this really strange makeup on my face. There were about 6 of us being moon goblins, and you'd come on, dance around in a circle and run off. And that was it. That was my debut on stage. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. But of course, during all that time, after about 2 or 3 years of working at dancing at Olive Wallace Dance School, I also, Mum took me to William Carr at the National Theatre to start learning Shakespeare. Because she thought...
How old were you, like?
I was
9?
about 10 or 11, something like that. 10 would have been.
Take note, Portia. Portia's one of our daughters, and she doesn't like Shakespeare.
Oh, naughty girl. Yeah, and it was fantastic because, well, in those days, way back when I was that young, the Australian accent was frowned upon a bit. You know, had to be flattened. No one wanted a good day, mate, how you going, you know, in Neighbours or whatever. That's all accepted now, but then it wasn't. So I went to Bill Carr to, you know, actually do some acting lessons with him, and poor man, he used to tear his hair out sometimes, I think, you know, the Australian accent creeping in all the time. But it was great training for me because it really did help me you know, get my mind around not only the language of Shakespeare, but also changing my muscular shape vocally to be able to pronounce, you know, words a different way. That was the start of it all, you know, really. Yeah. And of course, then after that, I got into things like Mame and Oliver, you know, all those things. In Mame, I toured around Australia with... there were 3 of us playing the young Patrick. It was a Sydney chap called named Grant Seiden, and David Atkins was the other one. Yeah, there were the 3 of us. Well, 2 of us travelled around. David and I travelled, you know, all around Australia with the show, and that in itself was, you know, a great experience. Going to different schools every time we hit a new. Hit a new state, and of course all these things we take for granted about adapting. And you know, although I never went to a formal training school and colleges and universities and all that sort of stuff, I was having life lessons all the way through, and you know, adaptability, learning new craft, you know, all the time, just letting my brain learn new things constantly. And thanks to my mum, you know, she was the one who put that in front of me to do. Otherwise, I probably would never have done it, you know.
No.
Well,
I would say not.
I'd be out in the street, you know, playing with my friends or whatever. But I remember so many days, Mum and I going off to a job somewhere. I might be doing a commercial or modelling. I used to do all that as well. Apart from, you know, doing stage work. And also I sang on In Melbourne Tonight, which was a huge thing, with Graham Kennedy and Don Lane, Jimmy Hannon, some Ugly Dave Gray, all these people who had entertainment on their shows, you know. So, and I'd be going on, and I saw a video of me with a mustache. Quite horrendous, in this black leather outfit, doing dancing in the street with the Tony Bartuccio dancers. It was hilarious. I thought it was hysterical. But anyway, that's another thing.
But so it was not always easy. I mean, it was. There were times you told me where you might be sick and you still had to go and work, and I mean, it was kind of the hard yards training. But at the same time, there weren't a lot of other opportunities for someone growing up where you did at that time, you know, in that day and age. So I mean, in a way, it was a gift, and the tough training certainly made you tough. I mean, I've seen you. I've seen you work through hurricanes and throwing up in the wings and still going out and delivering, and you know, which is what you learn in the industry. I mean, I grew up with that because we had parents who, if they didn't work, they didn't eat.
Yeah,
You know, so
they
my
didn't-
dad
yeah,
worked with the
exactly.
torn Achilles, and they
Yeah.
were dancers. You know,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, which is, you know, I guess not occupational health and safety, but was our life growing up, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so I think we need a segue here, because
All
we
right.
sort of covered your early childhood,
Yeah.
and there's much more to it.
Yeah.
But so just you left school at
I left school in year 9, I think it
year
was.
9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I thought, well, I was going to a pretty rubbish school. I won't mention where
Okay,
it was. And
so
in fact, I
we'll-
think they've closed now.
We'll start again in part 2.
Oh, okay.
So we'll come back.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, it's very
Yeah.
hard to try to think of everything.
Come back for more of Philip's life story.
Well, bye for
Bye for
now.
now.
Cheers.